then I got a couple quick other slides here, nothing too earth-shattering, but there was a couple things I wanted to point out on the representation agreement for tenants, right? So the one thing to note here is that the lawsuit did not affect tenant agent representation. So the tenant rep agreement pretty much is stating in here that the tenant cooperation can come from the listing agent, right? So it does say tenant broker compensation and the sharing of compensation between brokers are fully negotiable and are not fixed, controlled, recommended, or suggested by law or the MLS or any association with the realtor. So the tenant compensation paragraph is pretty much set up the same. However, it does denote that the tenant compensation will be paid to the broker, and it puts the amount, but it also lets them know that there's a potential that it could be paid from the listing brokerage, right, for tenant rep. Even though tenant rep cooperation won't be published as well.
Yeah, they're taking the field out. This is confusing a little bit. They're not going to allow you to offer compensation. No tenant broker compensation field in rental listings in MLS. It's just that they're clarifying that this technically wasn't covered by the settlement,
right?
The NAR settlement. And so, whatever the total compensation is, it's coming out of that total, and the listing agent has the right to offer out, right? But it's further defined. You've got to have agreement with your client,
right?
The landlord. What amount is that? Yeah.
And then here's a slide right here for the listing agreement for lease as well, paragraph 6. As you can see here, it's got the same standard verbiage up at the top regarding compensation. However, it's still broken up into total compensation. Broker compensation, landlord will pay broker compensation for the first month's rent or a percentage of, and then it does have for the tenant rep compensation that the tenant broker's compensation is an optional amount taken from the broker compensation and paid to any broker representing tenant in this transaction. So the broker can charge, so a listing broker can charge compensation and offer out tenant rep cooperation, but they don't necessarily have to. So as per their, they could still do that now.
And that's why this doesn't have the additional paragraph for tenant broker or for broker compensation with an unrepresented.
Correct.
Because you're entitled to the whole amount.
And then a couple other key changes. They removed the airport impact overlay district disclosure notice. So if you're working in Ashburn, they removed that disclosure. So that disclosure is no longer required. They also updated the contingencies and clauses addendum, section 2C, which was the FSBO seller compensation. That's been removed, right? Because now you can write that into your sales contract, right, for compensation. So it's no longer required to be separate. The lease, the VRLTA, had numerous adjustments to conform with current VRLTA updates. So we didn't go over those here today, but it's in your packet. So feel free to kind of peruse that if you're doing rentals and you have rental transactions. It's probably not a bad idea. And also there's a modification to the exclusive right to sell unimproved land listing agreements and sales contract for unimproved land and more. Check NVAR website for updates, but pretty much it's restricted mainly to the compensation paragraphs of both those agreements, as well as we talked about in the listing agreement and the sales contract for residential. It's the same thing that's going on with land as well. So you'll see those compensation fields changed as well. And then there's also some bright MLS changes. Sorry for the misspell. So June 12th, right? The optional seller concession field was added. So that already is in effect. And my mouse died, so that's why I'm pushing the screen. So August 14th, the buyer compensation field is removed. So you'll see August 14th, that field's going to be removed. Also, the removal of the coming soon limits. So it used to be 21 days. now it could be 21 years. So you're going to have a lot of rust on that house. Listings must be entered in the MLS within 2 days from when signed by the client, right? So make sure that your MLS, your stuff gets in the MLS, right?
Well,
So our policy here is once it's signed by the client, because not all of our agents are as diligent as you all, right? Just because your client signed it today and you sent it in for broker's signature 15 days later, that's not when the clock starts. The clock starts when your client signs the agreement.
technically now it starts from when your listing term.
Correct.
So you can further drill down on it, and that's what the new paragraph is in the listing agreement that we went over, right?
Yes.
So,
And then the MLS disclosures and residential sellers, landlords options form will go into effect and is mandatory by August 14th. And y'all are saying, what the hell form is that, right? So this is a new form that MLS has, and I don't know how well you can see that on that screen, but
a lot of words on that one form.
it's on. It'll probably be populated in the Samson folder as well, and part of your packet when you do your transactions on SkySlope. But it's a form that pretty much just outlines some bright MLS policies that they want your your clients to acknowledge, and you have to maintain it as part of your package. Mandatory, effective August 14th, optional from today to whenever.
This will become a compliance team checklist required item.
What's the title of that form?
MLS disclosures and residential sellers / landlords options. So on any listing that you're doing, it'll be required as part of your
You can
package.
download it if you want from Bright MLS. Just search up, or go to the home page and search up news on the tab above. That's how I pulled it off last night. Okay.